Welcome back to the Norma Seder project. In this video I'm going to try to tackle some of the hardest symbolism in the book of Revelation and try to explain how these events are going to take place in their order. It's the seals, trumps, and the bowls of God's wrath. In the book we have a scroll, and it has 7 seals on it, and if I were to break one seal, I still wouldn't be able to read what was inside. All 7 seals have to be broken before you can see what's inside. When the scroll is finally opened, the angels will blow 7 trumpets, one at a time. Each trumpet will invoke another vision, and this vision will show an event that will happen on earth for the most part, such as the sea turning black. In the book of Revelation, the Lord is telling the story of the end times over and over again. Each time, from the first seal to the last seal, it is a view of what's going to be happening the entire time. And then when the trumpets are blown, it is another view from beginning to end. The 6 bowls of wrath actually begin in the timing of the 6th seal. As I'm going over these events, try to imagine yourself as a person of the first century trying to describe modern war from your perspective. A little difficult. So when the first seal is broken, a rider goes out to conquer. And what does that cause on earth? When the first trumpet blows, we are told it causes hail and fire mingled with blood falling to the earth. What John is seeing on earth is most likely a modern war with bombs falling. Bombs look like gigantic hail. Then it looks like it is on fire, and when it hits the earth, of course, it's mingled with blood. This is not to say that the first rider causes only the first trump to blow, and the second rider causes the second trump, and the third, etc. I also don't see the seals as being opened within a 7-year period of time. I believe the second seal rider went out with the sole purpose of stopping the first rider from conquering another country. This was by making war with the first rider. These wars caused the first 4 trump events to take place. You might think I'm crazy for believing this, but it's my view at this time, and in giving my view, even if you don't believe it, you'll still get a good idea of how these seals, trumps, and bowls of wrath all fit together. And if I'm wrong about the first rider, then I will adjust. But as far as I'm concerned, I believe I watched the first riders and the first 4 trumps taking place on the news back in 1990-91. I watched as Saddam went out to conquer Kuwait. I later saw the U.S. and UN wage war on that first rider. We had a mighty sword. We managed to stop him. When reading the first 4 trumps, we read that only 1/3 of the land will be affected in these trumps. Remember what I said about the word G or gay, G-E, in the last video. The English translators, when dealing with the book of Revelation, chose to use the words earth and world for this instead of land or region. Earth and land mean the same thing, but when we hear the word earth, we picture the globe. The third of the land that I believe these 4 trumps are speaking of is a portion of Iraq, Kuwait, and the Persian Gulf. Revelations 8:7 says, "A third part of the trees were burnt up, and yet all the green grass was burnt." The Greek word translated here as all can also mean some of every sort. Green grass is speaking of the grass plants such as barley, hay, wheat, corn, etc. And so some of every sort of these grasses were burned up. So this is saying 1/3 of the land was affected by this war. The second trump involves only 1/3 of the sea becoming as blood, and 1/3 of the creatures of the sea died, and 1/3 of the ships were destroyed. This happened because something like a great volcano burning with fire was cast into the sea. The word cast also means to pour out or pour into. So picture something like a great volcano, meaning not a volcano, but something that spews fire like a volcano, and it pours itself into the sea like lava pours out of a volcano and flows into the sea. And the sea becomes like blood. In the Bowls of Wrath it says like the blood of a dead man, meaning a blackish red color. So now try to picture an oil well on fire as being like a volcano. Fire is coming out of it, and smoke, and the oil is flowing like lava and flows into the Persian Gulf. In the Gulf War, Saddam's troops detonated 750 oil wells, and it created the largest oil slick known to man. 1/3 of the Persian Gulf was actually black, with the dead creatures of that sea washing up on the shore, and the boats and ships were ruined with the oil. So, in the third trump, John sees a great star from heaven burning as if it were a lamp, and it fell upon 1/3 of the rivers and fountains, and the star was called wormwood, and men died from drinking the water. So we've all heard that wormwood must be referring to nuclear fallout, but in the Bible, wormwood is usually a bitter root. In this case, the rivers and fountains became poisonous in Iraq. It made so by this great star, which in a modern war is probably a missile falling to the earth. Even though John saw only one, I would say it is symbolic for the many bombs that fell in the war, since it says in the scripture, it falls on a third part of the rivers and fountains, plural. Or it could have been one particular bomb that hit the main water purification center for that country. But in any case, thousands of Iraqis died from drinking the water during and after that war. The fourth trump says 1/3 of the sun was smitten, and 1/3 of the part of the moon and the stars, so that 1/3 part of them was darkened. Now we all know that 1/3 part of the heavens is not going to be smitten, but I also saw this on the news. The smoke from those 750 burning oil wells actually made it so dark that one could not tell day from night. The wells burned for months, and the thick black smoke blotted out the sun and moon and stars from view for hundreds of miles. I have a picture here, if you can see that. The billowing black smoke. Okay. So as far as I know, that's all of the seals and trumps that have taken place so far. Although in Iraq, post-war, food was so scarce that it took about a day's wages to buy a loaf of bread, if you could find any bread to buy. Perhaps you've noticed that the trumps and bowls of wrath seem very much alike, because there's people think that there's all three seals, trumps, and bowls are side by side. But I believe this is because the events of the bowls of wrath will also take place in Iraq, and this time the whole Persian Gulf would turn black in the next coming war. Only in that war, which would be the Gog War, it would be a nuclear bomb hitting Iraq, and the whole area and entire Persian Gulf would be affected, not just 1/3 of the land. I believe the fifth seal, fifth trump, and the bowls of wrath are all still future events. I see a span of time between the events of the first seal and that of the fifth seal being opened. Remember how in the Abomination Part 2 video I spoke about the birth pangs in the Olivet Discourse, how they would be wars and rumors of wars, and then it says, see that you are not frightened, for those things must take place, but that is not yet the end. I think that this is the span of time between the Gulf War and the coming Fifth Seal War. The Fifth Seal War actually begins the end times, which will last for 42 months. I believe that the Fifth Seal War is the same as the Gog War, so this would come about after the Islamic Caliphate is set up so that the Eighth Head Empire will have begun to rule. The Muslim nations equal about 1/4 of the world land masses that Gog would have authority over. I would also expect that the fifth trumpet event will take place at the same time or a short time beforehand. The fifth trump is the opening of the bottomless pit, and the angel of destruction or death comes out of it. The angel of the pit would be the evil angel in charge over the eighth head empire of the beast, as we read in Revelation 17:8. The beast that thou saw was and is not, and shall come out of the bottomless pit. So that is the fallen angel of the eighth head empire, which is really one of the seven come back to life. We can also read in the seal that the rider is death and hell follows. I see this as the same angel of death from the pit, and hell as speaking of the locusts that follow after him. We have read that the dragon, Satan, gives his authority and throne to the beast. The beast is being ruled over by the fallen angel from the bottomless pit. Demon locusts are affecting men's behavior. It is the sixth trump. We see 4 angels that were bound at the rivers Euphrates to be loosed at this very hour and day and year for the purpose of this war. Mankind will be fighting in this war, but it's also the final war of this age waged by Satan against the Jews and Christians to kill or convert them all, so that no man worship the God of the Bible in the hopes of becoming greater than God. Even though this Gog war will be waged in the Middle East, and its main focus is to destroy the nation of Israel off the face of the earth and to kill or convert every Jew or Christian that they see, we must also expect terrorist actions here in the U.S. and much upheaval to be going on all over the world at that same time, especially here in America and in many of the European countries. So, explaining how the last of the seals, trumps, and bowls, starting at the sixth seal, will all fit together is going to take a while. So I will save it for the next video since I'm almost out of time. And I want to thank you for listening, and God bless. Welcome back to the Norma Seder Project. This is the second half of the Seals, Trumps, and Bowls videos, starting with the sixth seal. The seals are one view of the end day events from beginning to end, and the trumps are another view from beginning to end. They are the same time spans, just from different perspectives. The bowls of God's wrath are a view of what is happening during the sixth and seventh seals. It begins with Revelation 6:12 as the sixth seal is opened with a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth made of hair, and the whole moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth as a fig tree casts its unripened figs when shaken by a great wind. The sky was split apart like a scroll when it is rolled up. Every mountain and island were moved out of their places. The popular theory for this event is an eclipse, but that doesn't cause an earthquake or stars to fall to the earth or the sky to open up. Next, it tells of people hiding under rocks. I would think maybe this is caves or looking for caves. And they want to be covered by the rocks to hide them from the presence of him who sits on the throne and the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of their wrath has come, and who is able to stand. So the wrath of God has begun at this time of the sixth seal. The angels are pouring out the seven bowls of God's wrath. I believe that what John saw was a nuclear weapon going off in the Middle East. When a nuclear bomb explodes, the earth shakes like an earthquake. Then it looks like the sky is opening up as this massive cloud ring of clouds rolls back, much like the rolling of a scroll. I believe the stars falling to earth are missiles and other bombs. The sixth seal is at the height of the war that began with the opening of the fifth seal. People not directly hit by the bomb would run for the rocks in hopes of finding a cave that they could escape the fallout in. So let's look at the first bowl of God's wrath, Revelation 6:2. So the first angel went and poured out his bowl on the earth, and it became a loathsome and malignant sore on the people who had the mark of the beast and who worshipped his image. Radiation burns are malignant sores. In the second and third bowls, the sea and also the rivers and spring waters become like the blood of a dead man, which I believe will be oil again. The whole sea will be black this time, not just 1/3 of it. This means the oil wells are probably going to be on fire again with the black smoke, so the sun will be darkened. And the fourth seal was poured out on the sun so that it scorched men. The great heat put out by a nuclear bomb exploding is well known. The fifth angel poured out his bowl on the throne of the beast, and his kingdom became darkened, and they gnawed their tongues because of the pain. The throne of the beast, in my opinion, is going to be set up in Iraq, from where the caliphate over all Islam will be located. This is a place where the sun would be darkened. The sixth bowl is poured out on the Euphrates River, and it dries up so the kings of the east might come. Some say this is China, but east of the Euphrates is Iran, Afghanistan, and about 4 other Muslim nations. This army is being drawn to the valley of Armageddon in northern Israel, where the Lord will destroy them. Next, the Lord says, also in the sixth bowl, "Behold, I am coming like a thief. Blessed is he who stays awake and keeps his clothes, so that he will not walk about naked, and men will not see his shame." So this is speaking of the robes of righteousness. This is the time of the harvest of the bride of Christ, what we call the rapture. And there's only one harvest brought in, one bride, and this is when it's going to be happening. So I want to stop here and go back to the sixth seal. At the time this bomb goes off, God seals the 144,000. These are not Christians, since we already have the seal of God. These are Jews of all 12 tribes. They'll be a remnant because it is all 12 tribes, and in them all Israel, the race, will be saved. After that, John sees a great multitude which no man can number, of all nations and kindreds and peoples and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, and palms in their hands. So during the timing of the sixth seal, the first 6 bowls have been poured out, and the bride now stands before the throne, coinciding with the rapture event of the 6th bowl. Now I need to bring the trumpets back into the picture, because in the last video I had ended with the 6th trump. Between the 6th trump and the 7th trump, the Lord shows 2 more views of the events that are taking place at the same time. I'll call them inserts. The first one is chapter 10. An archangel is coming down from heaven. He stood with one foot on the sea and the other on land. He gives a loud shout. The 7 thunders then speak, which John isn't allowed to write what they said. Then the archangel yells that there will be no more delay, but in the days when the 7th angel is about to sound his trumpet, the mystery of God will be accomplished, just as announced to his servants, the prophets. We can read what the prophets were told in 1 Corinthians 15:51 and 52. Behold, I shew you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall all be changed. Again in 1 Thessalonians 4:15 through 17. From this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, so they're prophesying, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trump of God. And the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. So it's the same as in chapter 10. There's a shout with the voice of an archangel and with the trump of God, which in this case is the 7th trump of God. So in the second view of events happening just before the 7th trump is blown in chapter 11. In this view of events taking place at that same time is the 2 witnesses. Some believe that the whole of the 1260 days takes place between the 6th and 7th trump, but I disagree with that. John is being told all about them in this one place, but their 1260 days would have taken place over the whole of the time of the beast, when the 8th head is in having authority for 42 months, meaning that their 1260 days would have begun in the timing of the 5th seal war, and is ending here at the end of the 6th trump as the 7th trump blows. And this is the taking up or rapture of the 2 witnesses. They are part of the harvest, and so are taken up to the clouds at the same time as the rest of the harvest that Jesus is reaping. There is only one harvest, and these witnesses, of course, will be part of it. So, this, of course, is followed by the Battle of Armageddon, which takes place in the seventh seal, seventh trump, and 7 bowls of God's wrath. So, I made a little chart. In case you want to pause it. The 5th seal would be back here. So we have 42 months of the beast, and we have the 1260 days of the 2 witnesses. This is the 6th seal. The sun and the moon are darkened, so this would be the probably nuclear weapon going off. And here John sees the multitude in heaven, and then the 7th seal. This is the trumps. We have the 7th trump going off here. During the 6th seal, the wrath of God began. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bowls opened. And then we have the 2 inserts, the archangel, which brings us again to the time that the 7th trump blows, and then the 2 witnesses. So we're actually being shown the rapture and the taking up with in the 6th seal, with the multitude in heaven, at the 7th trump, and at the 6th bowl, and of course as the 7th trump is about to be blown here, and the 2 witnesses being taken up here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times that we see the rapture taking place. That helps to set the order for this. There's actually 2 more places that is talked about in the book of Revelation that we can line up with this. And then, of course, we have the 7th seal and the 7th trump and the 7th bowl and Armageddon. Okay. I also want to say, for believers, he won't be surprising us like a thief in the night. We'll be expecting to see him because the 2 witnesses will have been laying dead in the street for 3.5 years, and 3.5 days, and so we're going to expect to see them come back to life and be taken up in the clouds, and we'll also be taken up and changed at that time. The 6th bowl ended with, and they gathered them together to a place which in Hebrew is called Armageddon. In the 7th bowl it ends with, and there were flashes of lightning and sounds and peals of thunder, and there was a great earthquake, such as never had been since man came to be on earth. So great an earthquake it was, and so mighty, that the great city was split into 3 parts, and the city of the nations fell. Babylon the Great, this is the harlot city, not old Babylon, was remembered before God to give her a cup of the wine of her fierce wrath. And every island fled away, and every mountain was not found. And huge hailstones, about 100 pounds each, came down from heaven upon men, and men blasphemed God because of the plague of hail, because its plague was so extremely severe. Kind of sounds like a nuclear holocaust has begun, and the Lord is returning before we can completely destroy the earth. So that's it for my time, and thank you once again for listening, and God bless.